Let me paint a picture for you. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. The fluorescent lights are humming with a sickening buzz, and I am standing over a sink, scrubbing my hands until they are raw. I had spent 8 years of my life dedicated to the white walls of the hospital, believing I was doing exactly what I was born for. But on that specific Tuesday night, everything changed forever. I realized that the system I was serving didn't care about the patients, and it certainly didn't care about me. But that is not even the most shocking part of this story. There was one specific event involving a locked cabinet and a mysterious phone call that forced me to hand in my badge immediately. If you stay until the very end, I will reveal the chilling secret that the administration tried to hide from everyone on the staff.
You might be thinking that I quit because of the long hours or the difficult patients, and while those things definitely played a massive role, the reality is far more intense than you could ever imagine. Welcome to Real Stories, where we dive deep into the truths that people are usually too afraid to talk about out loud. For years, I was the one who arrived early and stayed late, the one who took every extra shift and smiled through the absolute exhaustion of a 12-hour rotation. I loved my patients with everything I had, but the high-energy environment eventually became a pressure cooker of corporate greed and ethical dilemmas. Today, I am finally breaking my silence to tell you the truth about what really happens behind those heavy double doors. By the time we finish this journey, you will understand exactly why I had to run for my life very quickly. When I first started working at the hospital, I was absolutely buzzing with excitement because I truly believed I was going to change the world one patient at a time. The adrenaline of the emergency room was like a drug to me, and I thrived in the chaos of beeping monitors and the constant rush of life-saving decisions. I felt like a hero every single time I donned my scrubs, and the camaraderie among the staff was something I cherished more than anything else in my life. We were a team of warriors fighting against the clock, and for a long time, that sense of purpose was enough to keep me going through the sleepless nights. However, slowly but surely, the cracks began to show in the foundation of the institution, and I started noticing things that didn't sit right with my conscience at all during my late-night shifts. The atmosphere began to shift from patient-centered care to a numbers-driven factory, where efficiency was valued far more than human empathy or actual recovery time. I remember vividly when the new management team arrived and started talking about bed turnover rates and revenue optimization, as if our patients were nothing more than data points on a digital spreadsheet. It felt like the soul was being sucked out of the building, and suddenly my high-energy passion was being met with cold, hard bureaucracy that didn't care if a person was terrified or in pain. I started asking questions that nobody wanted to answer, and I could feel the eyes of the supervisors watching me every time I spent an extra 5 minutes comforting a lonely elderly man. The tension was building up like a ticking time bomb inside my chest, and I knew something was going to break very soon indeed. One night, the chaos reached a fever pitch when we were severely understaffed, and the waiting room was overflowing with people who desperately needed our immediate attention and care. I was running between 3 different rooms, trying to manage critical situations, when I noticed a discrepancy in the medication logs that simply did not make any sense to me. When I brought it up to my direct supervisor, expecting a quick correction, she looked me dead in the eye and told me to just keep moving and ignore it. My heart started racing because I knew that ignoring it meant putting someone's life at serious risk, but the pressure to maintain the flow was absolutely overwhelming and suffocating. That was the first time I felt a genuine sense of fear for my career and my integrity, wondering if I was the only person who still cared about the medical rules. As the weeks went by, the strange occurrences became more frequent, and the atmosphere in the hospital turned from professional to downright paranoid for those of us who noticed. I started hearing whispers in the break room about missing supplies and documents that were being shredded in the middle of the night without any logical explanation or official reason. It felt like I was living in a psychological thriller instead of a medical facility, and every time I walked through those front doors, I felt that heavy weight on my shoulders. I began documenting everything in a private journal,
because I realized that the truth was being buried under layers of corporate protection and legal jargon. You have to wonder, if you were in my shoes, would you have stayed silent to keep your paycheck, or would you have risked everything to uncover the truth of what was really happening?
The final straw came on a rainy Thursday when I discovered the locked cabinet I mentioned earlier was actually filled with expired equipment that was still being used on patients. I couldn't believe my eyes as I realized the hospital was cutting corners on basic safety just to save a few dollars, while charging the insurance companies full price for everything. I took photos with my phone, my hands shaking with a mix of pure rage and absolute terror, knowing that this discovery would change the course of my life forever. Just as I was putting my phone away, the mysterious phone call came through on the internal line, and a voice I didn't recognize told me to mind my own business. It was revealed later that the hospital used a private firm to monitor employees, which is the chilling secret they tried to hide from the staff and the public. I walked straight to the locker room, grabbed my belongings, and didn't even bother to wait for the end of my shift, because the moral weight was simply too heavy. I felt a strange surge of energy as I walked out into the cool night air, leaving behind the years of dedication and the high salary for the sake of my sanity. It was the most terrifying decision I have ever made, but as I sat in my car and cried, I felt a level of freedom that I hadn't experienced in a decade. I realized that my worth was not defined by a title or a hospital badge, and that my passion for helping people could exist outside of a corrupt and failing system. If you want to join the 1% of people who choose to value the truth over everything else, hit that subscribe button to stay informed.